Welcome to My Stolen Gun. Hey folks, how are y'all doing? I'm sure that YouTube is going to flag this and throttle it and do everything they can because I used the term gun. If you could, share and tell your friends about it if you're interested. This here is our 1996 Llama Max 1 LF 45 caliber ACP. I bought this gun in March of 1996 as a home defense weapon. September of 1997, my house was broken into and they actually stole the gun in the safe. They took the whole thing. Basically, it was gone. I made a police report. It didn't come up to the deductible that we had on our insurance policy for the house because basically it was the only thing that was actually stolen out of the house was the gun safe with it in it. Guess they thought they were getting the family jewels. So in September of 1997, it's stolen out of the house. I report it's stolen. I hear nothing. It's gone. Shortly after, I go out and I buy this. This is my Kimber 45. Beautiful weapon. An upgrade from the Llama, yes it was. My Llama was long forgotten. So I get notified in late summer of 1999 by a knock at the door by Baltimore City Police Department that my gun was involved in a shootout. So in late 2001, I get this letter from Baltimore City Police Department that they have my property and I need to come and get it. At this point, I have totally forgotten about the gun. Since moved out of the city, but yet I still do a lot of work in the city, in which case my truck has been broken into. You know, and I'm thinking maybe they've got stereo equipment or carpet tools or whatever. Call the phone number and they transfer me to the weapons department. And I'm like, holy cow, no way. Long story short, this is the evidence tag. Got a synopsis of the report that was on file from someone at the police station, just out of curiosity, waiting for them to actually deliver the gun up to the front desk. Apparently it was involved in a shootout in East Baltimore. No one died, thankfully, because I never would have saw the gun again after that point if it was involved in a homicide. It was involved in a robbery. Guy was prosecuted. I believe he got 4 years. Yeah, for a robbery and shootout. But I guess nobody dying kind of fixed that for him. Now the letter came in, as I said, late 2001. It took me another 3 or 4 months before I could arrange a time because they would just, yeah, we have no appointments available for the next 3 months. You know, and actually, the first time I responded, I got a reply of, "Why do you want this back?" And I was like, "Because it's mine." You know, it was stolen out of my house. Long story short, I got the gun back. It took some hoops to jump through. So once again, I have my Kimber. I'm bringing this home, and I can see that it already got thrown across the pavement. You know, I see that in television shows all the time. Toss it over here. Well, I'm telling you, unless I was a straight up criminal and I knew the jig was up, I'd ask him if I could actually set it down gently. I mean, this thing has not a scratch, and there is no way that I would toss it across the pavement to a cop. Just saying. So once again, I had this gun, loved the Kimber, got this one back, and it was in a little bit rough shape. So I oiled it up, and it really just became a conversation piece. This one's been more of a novelty for me. I mean, to have a stolen gun that was actually used in a shootout, and it wasn't Bonnie and Clyde, but, you know, a little history for what's in my gun cabinet. Now, during this period that everybody has to stay home here, one of the things I took advantage of is I decided to go through my gun cabinet and clean everything. Why not? Had time. And in the process of that, I came across this guy once again. Out of sight, out of mind. But as I looked at this gun, I started to realize that either I needed to fix it or I needed to disable it, because there is a couple questionable issues that are really going to have to be fixed. As I said, I've left it pretty much like it has been. It's been pretty much sitting in this box for 18 plus years with some periodic oiling just to make sure it don't rust. Now this time I actually take it out of the box, and the first thing I notice is the grips are kind of like got a jelly, sticky texture to them. I take the grips off because I'm going to do a thorough cleaning, and as I'm taking them off, they're just crumbling and like a gooey, icky mess. So they ended up in a trash can, like just there. I got the screws out of them and then off they went. Got online, looked around. Believe it or not, there's very few people that make grips for a Llama. And being that I have this Kimber, and I do love the wood grips that are on it, I started looking around, and there's like one manufacturer that makes the rubber grips that they originally have, and another couple that makes these beautiful wood grips. A normal set of grips will not fit on this gun, so you're limited on your selection or your availability, because these typical 45 grips are not, as you can see, the screws don't line up right. This one's much higher than that one. That's just different. They really are. So now I was left with the dilemma of, I've got gooey grips. I get online, I find some nice new wood grips, and I think, yeah, why not? Let's fix it up a little bit. One is this slide release. It's actually supposed to stick out another probably 3/8 to a ½ inch, but I believe when it got slidden across the concrete, it took it right off. So now there's only a sharp point right here that you can release the slide on. Another issue that I recently discovered, and can tell that I have never fired a gun since I got it back, is that the firing pin is stuck and does not want to come out. So I have two dilemmas. The next thing is that it has these scratches along the face here where it actually slid across the concrete. It probably wasn't the best bluing to begin with, and then of course it's, you know, got its rashes. But this end right here is the part I'm more concerned about. As I said, I don't think they're very deep, but man, they look really bad. I'd like to fix them up a little bit. I don't think they're that deep. I think it's more superficial than anything. So I'll tell you now, I'm not a gunsmith. I've had guns for the last 35, 40 years. I've had this one off and on for, 25 years here. And I would like it fixed now. So I actually did find a slide lock. I'm waiting for it to show up. I may have to actually take it to a gunsmith to have it looked at. But as I said, there's other issues. But the first thing I need to do is break it down. Gotta love how easy that is. Another small issue I'm having is getting the firing pin out. Not really sure what's going on here. I think I need to give it some proper attention. Okay, we've gotten down to our basic pieces. We've got our slide here, we got a frame, some miscellaneous parts, the piece we're waiting on to be delivered. And the reason I have these other pieces out and I broke it down this much, they're starting to show a lot of wear and a lot of almost a rust that's starting to come through. And this one actually has a little nick in it. And I believe the beaver tail has a little nick in it somewhere. Alright, now we're looking down in the slide where our broken piece actually slides back and forth. And I'm seeing a little bit of a buildup of some metal right here. This also looks like it's been bent, I guess, in its slide across the pavement. And as we can see, that's where it's broken off at. And if you look down there, I know it's really hard to tell on camera, but if you look down there, it looks like it's cocked that way. Now that we're in this condition, we're going to go ahead and we're going to make a trip to the garage and see if we can get rid of the scratches. Went ahead and finished up getting our firing pin removed, and I had to actually remove the rear sights to remove the firing pin safety disconnector, which wasn't disconnecting properly. Once I got that out, it seemed to work out, so I don't know exactly what's going on. I'll fit with it in a little while. But for now, I did what any good backyard mechanic would do and got out some carburetor cleaner and sprayed down the slide real good. That way it doesn't have any oils on it. And now I'm going to drop it in this vinegar. It's hot. Got a little wild with the polishing. Started off with this pile of sandpaper over here. Everything from 800 all the way up to 2000. But before the sandpaper, I was even started with, I got my file out here. Filed down a lot of these edges. Then it went over to this compound over here. Then it went to an assortment of discs, polishing discs that go onto my grinder. I don't understand how people do it online and they say, oh, I take out a Dremel and 15 minutes later I've got a polished whatever. I've been at this for almost 6 hours. It looks good, but that's about as far as I'm going. Did the trigger, did the slide, did the ejector, and I did this. Those where the big deep scratches were. They're 99.9% gone. There's just like a little pit of one. Looks like a pit, but it's actually part of the scratch. And there's a couple little things up here. That's where the slide got screwed up at, which I think if I took those out, I may be taking too much of the material out. But didn't turn out too bad. But for now, I'm done for the night. And tomorrow, I'll work on the rest of this. That way, it'll be ready for when my part comes in. Another day in the garage here. We've started off with taking a little of this rubbing compound. I know a lot of people like to use toothpaste, but it was available right here. I put it in the channels of the slide and the frame and worked it back and forth in all different directions. These are just things I've learned off of YouTube. So there's plenty of information out there about whether you want to use rubbing compound or toothpaste. It's your choice. I went ahead and got that taken care of, so basically my rails are polished now. And the next step is I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to polish this feed up with my Dremel. Now that we have our feeder polished, still a little compound in there so it doesn't look too great on camera, but it's fine. My next issue is this. This is where it did take a tumble across the concrete there. And these little notches are almost like a serrated edge. So I'm going to take out my handy dandy file here and take them off real quick. We went ahead and took care of everything else that was wrong. There's little nicks here and there. That was real bad, as I said. That looked like a serrated edge. I think the bluing will cover up anything else that's left into it. I'm really trying hard not to get into any of these numbers. I mean, come on, it was a stolen gun. And then if you have altered serial numbers on what was reported as a stolen gun, it could be a can of worms. So we're going to stay away from them as much as possible. Now everything else apparently is in good shape. Went ahead and I fixed my scratch and my beaver tail, and you can see where it was kind of rubbing on the, you know, where it makes contact. I went ahead and I just sanded that off just a tiny bit, you know, just to, I don't know, give it a little smoothing down. Maybe it'll make it freed up a little better.
And I fixed the nick in this, and I think I fixed one in that, and I may just put another one in my frame again, but I'm going to go ahead and take these out and give them a bath. Back from the kitchen, got all the compound off. Now it's time to dip it in this steaming tray of vinegar and let it soak for a while. Now this is just after, like, I don't know, 10 minutes. Stuff is bubbling like it's salsa water or something. Just back from the kitchen sink. Everything's all dried up and ready to go. It's time to do some bluing. The first attempt didn't turn out too bad. I did screw up pretty royally though. When I did the first piece, I let it set for a minute and I started doing other pieces in a row. So I kind of had in my mind every 15 or 20 seconds or so I had to drop the last piece into the water, which I have a bucket over here. The first one I decided to set in the water and I got my glove wet. And in the process from that point on, it just seemed like I was always a little wet there. So, but from what I understand, you have to do this a few times anyway. I plan on doing it 3 or 4 times to get them really dark, and we'll see how they turn out. After a couple hours of bluing, which I'm not really sure why they call it bluing when it actually turns things black, but that's another story. I did 5 coats basically, 5 treatments I guess really would be the way to say it. And I went ahead and I sprayed it all down with some Stay-Ball because I'm a backyarder and that's what I have. It'll saturate and really kind of blend in with that stuff real nice. And that and be able to spray the inside and everything makes everything nice and rust free. And we got our other pile of parts. I went ahead and actually, I won't say polished, but I did actually take the bluing off the barrel. I mean, if you ever really see it, you're going to be on the wrong end of the gun anyway, and I don't think you're really going to care what color it is, but it was easy to do while everything was out. So now I got to leave everything sit for, you know, they say 12, 14, 28 hours, so we'll see what happens when I can get back to it. Till then, okay, now that we're back downstairs here, now that we officially have everything strewn out as far as possible from one another, I think it's time we put something back together. Did some final cleaning, got all those nooks and crannies cleaned up, just in case anything floated into a chamber or something it shouldn't have. Now that everything is ready to go, it's time to get it all put back together. So we're going to start with our slide first, and then see if we remember how to put the frame together. There's 1 or 2 parts that don't seem to be like having spaces, but I'm sure they will once I get to that point. So let's get this thing finished up. I have to say, after putting the slide together, that Llama did not really take into account the firing pin of one of these things. There's the safety. You have to push that in while pushing in the firing pin so you can drop the back plate on. Without this thing in a vise or stuck between your knees, you can't actually do all 3 at once. You can't hold it, push this in, and push this in from that end, and drop the back plate. So that is a pain in the arse. But besides that, it's all done. Ready to go. Got our extractor in, got our sights on. I left the sights black. Why not? They weren't going to polish up anyway. Just putting these last screws in here. Get this one tightened up. Even though I've made it this far, it's kind of reaching a dilemma here for me, because I don't have this piece. It still hasn't come in yet, and I was just looking on their website and they are closed down until further notice. So I've got all these pretty parts sitting here, and I've got this piece, this broken piece. I think I may have to go for it. Yeah, I'm pretty sure the camera isn't going to do it justice, but wowzer. Got the handles back on, got everything put together. Like I said, I had to use my old slide lock, which is still broken off. I really don't want to cycle it too much either, just because I know that's off a little bit and I don't want it to do any damage on the inside. So, but I have cycled it, it works fine. Honestly, if it had to, I'd take it out and shoot it, but just did a little research. I went back and looked and found out that I paid $191 for this thing back in 1996. Today, I just looked up. Cheapest one I could find was $350 at a starting bid. So I guess they've gone up in value, and now that mine doesn't look like it actually got thrown across the street in a robbery, I went ahead and I colored in my dots. Got everything else done, as I said. It really does look good. I'm quietly impressed. Like this video. Like it now! I like the contrast in colors. I've seen a few of them in different ways, and I kind of like this. Wasn't sure at the beginning, to be honest, but I do like the way it came out. And I gotta say, it's been a fun project. I just wish the slide lock would have came in. It would have completed everything, because as I said, it sticks down to about here on my thumb and finishes that off. But at the moment, I don't know whether it's going to be a couple weeks or a couple months before I get it, so we're not going to sit here and leave everything just apart on the desk. We already have a cassette deck. It's laying all over the place now, waiting on belts that haven't arrived yet, and it's been about 6 weeks. Yeah, from Yonkers, New York. Go figure. And with that, this has been my stolen gun. I guess I can call it my stolen gun revival now, because it's a pretty good looking gun for $191. And it's got a little history. Again, thank you all for watching, and I hope you'll like and subscribe to this video, and see you next time. Like this video. Like it now!